Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another video session. Wasn't feeling too well last week, so I just posted notes. This week it's gonna be similar. I posted notes that's not about Excel. It's still following what we did last week, where you read, and basically it's a little bit of reading comprehension. And Thursday there's gonna be another 10 questions based on the notes that I post. So we're basically still reviewing. Last week was hardware, so as you guessed, today it's gonna be software. So I'm just gonna bring up the notes and just basically go through them with you guys, summarizing it and maybe talking about extra examples in this lesson. So when we talked about last week, we talked about different hardware devices. We talked about input, output, storage, and processing devices. And then we gave examples of each one. And one thing I didn't mention last week was that any device that isn't the CPU is known as a peripheral device. So basically anything that's not the CPU, which is basically everything that makes up a computer system except the CPU, is known as the peripheral device. Again, this is basically a review, but with a little bit of extra definitions that we didn't get to cover last year when we were covering software. So basically, software is any of the non-physical components of a computer system. So we talked about all the physical components, basically what you need physically as what a computer system is, but then now we're talking about the things that aren't physical, that we cannot touch but we can see, but only with the help of the monitor, right? And that's what we call software. Computer software is created by software developers and programmers. We do this writing code, what you guys commonly see in movies nowadays and maybe online, and I'm sure some of you guys are actually coding yourselves. I have some students in mind already that I know are coding already, and programming is actually one of the fields that you could really get into early. Some people say it difficult because yes, you're writing in this weird language. We call it programming languages. It might look difficult to understand, but I mean, once you learn the basics, it's pretty easy to develop like basic code for something simple like a calculator, or maybe even writing some basic games, even if you're really interested in coding. So the software in this case is important because nowadays we use software to control the computer. You could have a computer system, you could have the latest technology, you could have the best system in the world, but if there isn't a way for you to communicate or for you to control the system, then it's useless, right? And it's not like people are made of electricity and we could just touch the system with our hands and rest our hands on it and then send electrical signals from our bodies to just control the system how we want it to be controlled, right? So there has to be some easier interface for humans and computers to communicate with each other. I mean, we know that computers communicate with each other or among the parts, through binary, but again, we're not robots or we're not electrical beings. We can't just communicate with a computer with our minds. It would make things a lot easier, but no, we just can't. So software is actually why it's developed, is because we need some way to control the parts of the computers. We have a bunch of scrap metal here, but then software enables us to control this scrap metal and let us do things that's meaningful to us by manipulating the data. So I say today, or the modern day right here, because software wasn't used back in the day. The first computers that were used to calculate our route communications we're using punch cards, and I'm pretty sure there are systems even before punch cards, but I'll only go as far back as when computers use punch cards. So basically, it's a little card like this. It has holes on certain areas. So when you slip this into the card reader of the machine, the holes or the missing pieces of paper lets the computer know like which processes to run or what to do. It's kind of like if you use a credit card today and you just put it into the ATM, or when they swipe it, it reads some type of data, right? And then using that data, the banks or the stores know which account to charge, meaning your personal account. So this is something kind of similar, not in the sense that it has data stored somewhere, but in the sense that each punch card is unique based on which holes are punched in, and then depending which holes are punched in, the machine will run, this process or that process. But imagine nowadays, let's say you want to just go online and watch one video. Imagine having to have a specific punch card for that video, and then let's say you want to go and write a homework. Imagine you have to have a punch card specifically just for Microsoft Word to open, and then you need another punch card just to copy something, and then another punch card just to paste, and another punch card just to type in the letter S, and another one just to type in the letter F, P, and Q. You see why it's not very efficient, right? So nowadays, we have nice software that allows us to do this a lot easier, and not only that, we're actually able to see our results on a screen because of these software, right? Back then, look at this machine here. That's what we were using. Well, I can't say we because I wasn't born yet either, but that's what was being used, and it was very difficult to see what was happening. You just have to look at a printout of what happened to see, okay, this happened. Now we have our monitors, we're watching this video, we could graphically see, okay, this is what's happening right now. So remember the term graphical user interface. That's exactly what software provides for us. It gives us something that's visual or graphical that we can see, and us being the user to interface or interact with a computer device. Bit of review again. Last year we covered the two different categories of software. We have the operating system software and application software. The operating system is what controls everything, right? It's the software that's basically in charge of handling everything on a computer that needs to be handled at the moment. Think of it, and I think I said this last year, think of it as the boss of the computer. Remember what I said just now. A computer is just a bunch of metal, electrical signals moving to and fro. You need to charge it, and it's a screen sometimes in this case, but that's it. Without the software, you wouldn't be able to do anything meaningful on the computer because the computer wouldn't know what to do. So the software helps the different devices like the keyboard, the CPU, speakers, all of those hardware that we talked about before. It helps all of them communicate with each other. Alright, that's just one of the main uses, one of the most important uses. Another thing that the operating system does is it allows us to run applications. Right? So think of the OS here as the central communication center. So we have the CPU, right, which is the central processing unit. It handles all the processing, right? But you think of the operating system as the central communication center because everything that you want to do in a modern day computer, you have to go through the operating system first for the most part. All right, I'm not gonna get into like BIOS and stuff like that, but just remember that the operating system controls all applications. It manages memory, so if your computer is running low on RAM, it will start freeing up unnecessary files. What else? Oh, it also allows us to transfer data. So if you have a USB, or if you're trying to move one file from this folder into another folder, for example, then the operating system handles that because it goes and check if you have storage that can take up the extra files or the copying or cutting or pasting and so forth. So all of these devices, and if you notice, even applications, which is software, has to communicate between the operating system. Now, the operating system, again, is what allows us to communicate to all the other devices. However, when you want to complete a specific task, you use an application. An application, unlike the operating system, doesn't handle all these important things. An application actually communicates with the operating system so that it can receive resources like memory, and it can communicate with the keyboard. For example, if you're using Microsoft Word, you need permission to use the keyboard from the OS so that you can start typing, like how I type out this report. And all an application does, or what it's supposed to do, is one specific task. You could tell me that, well, sir, but this can, for example, with Microsoft Word, and I use it as an example here, you could type out, but Microsoft Word is mainly used for typing out stuff, right? Typing out reports or writing out anything you need to write out. But I mean, I could put pictures in Microsoft Word, and that isn't typing, right? However, it's still there because you're trying to convey information to someone, so you could specify the